You know, it was about 150 years ago that the Chinese were rounded up and sent out of Seattle, kicked out of Seattle. In the late 1800s, the United States Congress passed a law that banned immigration of Chinese. And then later on, here in the state of Washington and all along the West Coast, states passed laws that said Asians, primarily Chinese and Japanese, could not own land. And then, of course, during World War II, Japanese American citizens rounded up and put in concentration camps, internment camps. Why? Because we're treated like foreigners. We're always treated like foreigners. And words matter. When people say it's the China virus, the Wuhan virus, the Kung Flu virus, they're trying to scapegoat Asian Americans for the problems of this country. Except for the Native Americans. We're all foreigners. Whether our ancestors came on the Mayflower, on a slave ship from Africa, or on a steamer from Asia. We're all foreigners. And it's that constant infusion of people from all around the world, of different cultures, languages, ideas, that makes America great. What really makes America great is our diversity. And people who don't know that, they're the ones who don't know what makes America great. We do. This violence against Asian Americans, and especially our elderly, has got to stop. We cannot scapegoat, blame Asian Americans for this virus. Hate is the virus. Hate is the virus. Hate is the virus. Hate is killer. The ones who are vandalizing our establishments, the ones who are attacking Asian Americans, they're nothing but cowardly, racist thugs. And we need to stand up for our rights. We are Americans, like any other group here in this country. Just today, we had a ceremony celebrating the 20,000 Chinese Americans who served during World War II, who gave their blood, sweat, and tears for this country. And having given those blood, sweat, and tears, starting with the building of the Transcontinental Railroad, to working in the lumber camps, the timber towns, and serving in our military for our freedom, we need to show that we care, and we will respect their sacrifices, and we will stand up for our rights. Virus, the real virus is hatred. The real virus is racism. And we will not be afraid. We will not be cowards. We will stand tall and proud of our Asian ancestry, of the diversity of America.
This is Washington Chinese TV station host Nella Kwan, and today I have Mr. Dao Constantine. How are you doing today? And tell us a little bit more about yourself, and then why you're here today.
Well, I'm personally fine, but I'm angry and I'm disturbed and disappointed with what's going on in our country right now. The hate and violence being expressed in places toward Asian Americans is outrageous and can't be tolerated. I had the opportunity just a little over a year ago to travel to Albuquerque to help dedicate a monument to a major court case that helped in the fight against the Chinese Exclusion Act that was by a Seattle artist, Cheryl Leo Gwynn. And you know, my own family is Japanese American, and my own little daughter's Obachan came here as a young woman after having survived the war. And for her now in her 90s to be facing the fear that is engendered by seeing this happen, by seeing it on TV, is outrageous to me. She has built a life in this country, 75 years, a daughter who is my wife and a little granddaughter. And for them to all be, and me by extension, terrorized by this outrageousness that really was ignited by the last president of the United States is just unacceptable. We have to stand up against it. If this country is going to move forward, we have to be willing to stand against hate.
Absolutely. Any next steps that you think that we should be taking, or that we'll in Seattle be taking?
Well, we as a government at King County are providing support for people regardless of what city you live in or in the unincorporated area. If you see something, if you experience something, we are there for you, and we will take any measures to try to track it down, to bring people to justice and to provide the support the community needs. But more than that, we need to understand that we are at a moment where we have a choice in America.
Agreed.
We can slide backwards into the old normal of a kind of unspoken racial hierarchy and the racism that's entwined in every institution in this nation, or we can charge ahead to try to fulfill the potential of this nation. It is a choice that each of us individually and all of us collectively have to make.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, and I agree. We'll take that stance and we'll make it happen.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. This is Washington Chinese TV station host Nella Kwan, and today I have Senator Bob Hasagawa with me at Hinghae Park in Seattle, Washington. Now, Senator Hasagawa, why are we here today?
Well, we're here to show solidarity that we're not going to tolerate as a community anti-Asian hate attacks. I mean, it's just been so disgusting, and the country seems like it's spiraling out of control, and we have to start standing up together and standing up against hate, so that's why I'm here.
Excellent. And then any next steps that you want us as citizens of, Washington to take on and help this cause?
Boy, I think it starts at the very top of the country's leadership, and so we can be a leading example for the whole country, I think, to show how diversity and people can get along. And even here we've got some of the white racists, white supremacists acting out on our streets against our own people. So we have to take care of our business here, but we can be a good example for the whole country.
Very cool. Well, thank you again, and I hope to continue our success with this stance. And
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now, good to see you again.
Good to see you. This is Washington Chinese TV station host Nella Kwan, and today I'm here at Hinghae Park in Seattle, Washington's Chinatown. With me I have Bellevue Council member Miss Janice Zahn. How are you doing today, Janice?
Well, it's a bit of a somber day because we are working on making sure the message is being heard that anti-Asian hate is not acceptable anywhere.
Agreed. Absolutely. And today we're all gathered here. Can you tell us why we're gathered here, and what is the purpose of this march for us?
Well, I would say that the purpose is to make sure that everyone is aware of what's going on in our community, because we don't always talk about the things that happen, especially our seniors that right now are very afraid to leave their homes because of the fear of being attacked as an Asian. And the more that we make sure that our community, everyone knows that these are things that are happening, and that we're really calling for a call to action to stand together to make sure that as a community that we keep everybody safe, and that's so important.
Are there any steps that you would recommend for us to continue growing strong and to take into account?
Absolutely. I think the first thing we can do is make sure that we're there for each other. So be a bystander that can stand up for the victims. Help people that are afraid with ways that we can help. And if people are seeing things that are happening to them, have them reach out. I was just talking with the Chinese Information Service Center about phone numbers that they can call to report what's going on so that we can better understand and collect data about what's going on, and we can then provide support in those areas where if there's a particular store, if there's a particular bus line that people are on where there's more of this type of hate, bias, and violence, we can do something about it. But the biggest thing we can do is to show that we stand together with our Asian communities against what's going on.
Agreed. Well, I'm really excited that we are here today and that we share the same motion, and I hope that we'll continue with our success and we continue to spread this message.
Oh, absolutely. And I will say that lastly, I think that our elected officials are paying attention and they do care. And as the president of the National League of Cities API constituency group, we are looking at what are the steps that we can take even at the national level to send that really strong message about what's happening in our community and making sure that we're doing something about it.
Agreed. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Councilmember.
Thank you, Nella.
Dennis.
Thank you.
Alrighty.
This is my senator! Power to the people!
So most of you know I came out of the labor movement. So while we're here trying to emphasize that we're not going to tolerate racism against our community, I also want to share a perspective coming from the labor movement, because the number one principle out of the labor movement is solidarity. Whatever divides us against each other is bad, but whatever unifies us is good, because we build power that way, and that's what it's all about, is building power for the people. So while we're here demonstrating that we are not going to tolerate anti-Asian racism, I also want to put it in the context that many other communities are being attacked right now. And it's because of the racist undertones going throughout the country and the growing fascism, not just in the U.S., but internationally. That's a direct result of the corporate power that's taking over the world. We as a people need to stand together in solidarity. So we need to stand with our black brothers and sisters. We need to stand with our Native brothers and sisters. We need to stand with our brown brothers and sisters. And as a united voice, say, we want our justice for our people. We want justice for everybody. So that's just my small piece here, is to put this into context. We do not tolerate racism against our family, but our family is large. And we are powerful when we stand together. So there's 4 basic rules. Educate, agitate, organize, and mobilize. That's how we build, not just build our power, but we assert our power. Because what good is power if you don't use it for the people? Educate, agitate, organize, and mobilize. Let's move forward together, brothers and sisters.
Hello, beautiful community!
I'm here because I'm pissed off. And I'm here because we want justice. 1 year later, and we have a vaccine, and yet racism still runs rampant throughout our communities, right here at home and across the nation. We would be well advised to take note that yes, since the outbreak of COVID-19, anti-Asian sentiment and racism, acts of hate and bias has peaked against our community members. But you know what? Hate crimes have been on the rise for 5 years against black folks and Jewish folks, and we are all impacted by a common oppressive system called white supremacy. I gave birth during the pandemic to a multiracial child, and I don't want her to have to live in a world where she's judged because of her ancestry. But you know what? If she is, then I want her to be in a world where people come out like this and will stand in solidarity
one of the few legislators in Washington State of Asian descent, it is such an honor to see so many great people standing in solidarity with our communities, because as we fight this pandemic and as we fight the hate, it will take all of us here today fighting for one another to get through this time. And I really appreciate everybody being here, because in our fight for justice, we know that we have to stand in solidarity together. I'll keep it pretty short. I want to say thank you to the organizers and the youth who've been here, who organized, who are raising awareness on these issues, and I appreciate everybody spending the time with us this afternoon as well. Thank you so much.
Today, thank you. It's only a few weeks ago that a teacher of the young people was attacked right out here on this street. Noriko Natsu was attacked because of her race, because of hate. And in my own neighborhood, I just found out that a couple who was perceived as Asian was accosted while they were going about their business at an ATM, told to go back to your country. In my neighborhood, what is their country? This is their country. Yeah. This is our country. If you do not understand the history of Asian Americans in Seattle, in King County, then you do not understand the history of this place. Because it is immigrants from Asia, just like immigrants from Europe, just like immigrants from Africa and elsewhere, who literally built this city. This is our country. You know, King County in 2020 filed charges against nearly 60 people for hate crimes. That was an increase from fewer than 40 in just the year before. And we all know why that is. There was a person in the highest office in the land fomenting hate, fomenting racial division, giving permission to racists to speak up and act out. We have to fight back against that, because even though he is gone, they are not. They are among us, and we need to fight them with everything we have. That is why next week I will transmit to our county council a budget measure which includes substantial funding for education, for publicity, for activism, to fight racially based hate and bias in our community. See, my little baby who's here with me today, her mother survived the war in Japan, and then she came here seeking a better life. But she wouldn't teach her daughter, my wife, her native language, because she was afraid that her adopted country would once again turn against the Japanese citizens here and send them back to camps. She was of the generation that felt that she needed to hide her identity, that she needed to try to blend in and avoid emphasizing her ethnic heritage. But we now are able to fight back against that. Each of us has the right to be who we are in this nation, and proud of it. And our little daughter is not happy with us for making her go to Japanese school every Saturday, but damn it, she's going to do it. So let me just say this. The only way we beat this is united. Nobody can tell us to go back to our country. This is our country. And as Gary said, as Executive Locke said, if anyone's going to be able to say that, Chris, it's going to be those who are the original people of this land. Every one of us is an occupier but them. We are here on occupied land. And we need to treat this place with the respect that is due. That we are not here by right, we are here by privilege, every single one of us.
is here on occupied land. So we have to join together now. Join together to fight back against the hate that was unleashed by he whose name shall not be uttered. And we will fight because we will not tolerate discrimination. We will not tolerate hate. We will not tolerate violence against Asians or Asian Americans or anyone else based on race in this nation. We will fight them tooth and nail. Are you with me? Are you with me? Are you with me? Thank you very much.
The most important thing for me I feel more passionate about this than any of the rallies this year. I think it's terrible what's happening to them. And I support stopping the hate against the Asian community in this country and around the world. I think it's...
Okay, thank you.
Today is a great opportunity to break long-lasting change. For far too long, Asian Americans have been discriminated against and forced to stay silent, especially with the political scapegoating of the COVID-19 pandemic. However, we cannot afford to stay silent any longer, and we must rise up and take this chance to create a change within our community and ask them to stop hurting our young members, our elders, and every single family that has been hurt by this situation.
请问你支持吗？
我支持我们这个华侨还有这个亚洲太平洋人因为最近为了这个病好多人都要找我们的麻烦，所以我是来这里来给
争取权益哈。
代表说我们存在，我们在这里，我们不是弱，我们多一共强。
Good.
I will embrace it. And because of that, I will not accept nor appease any hate crimes committed against me, my family, our people, our community, by any perpetrator, regardless of their race. We have a right to defend ourselves by any means necessary. We have a right to speak up and stand up to hate crimes. When an Asian, whether an elderly or a woman, claims that an attack on them was a hate crime, then who are we to downplay, debate, or deny their claim that it was a hate crime? We should not be silenced by the specter of systemic racism as a reason not to reporting it. We need to report hate crimes since no one will report it for us. If we're so concerned it will be used as a wedge, then explain that to the family of the 84-year-old Asian elderly who was fatally assaulted while taking his daily walk in San Francisco. Or to the Asian woman, school teacher.
There is no place for hate in the Chinatown International District. There is no place for hate in Seattle, in King County, or anywhere. This place is a place for history, for culture, for art, for entrepreneurship, and for community. As Executive Director of CISC, we are a member of the Coalition Against Hate and Bias, which is supported by the King County Office of Equity and Social Justice. CISC is a member, the Seattle Chinatown PDA is a member, United Indians of All Tribes is a member, Eastside for All is a member. We need your support to advocate for more funding for the King County Coalition Against Hate and Bias. We are a trusted place where you can report incidents of hate and bias. We have staff who speak Mandarin, Cantonese, Vietnamese, Spanish, and Russian. And we can report incidents of hate and bias and develop a strong network. So if we know that our elders are walking down the street in a certain neighborhood and they're experiencing hate and bias, if we know if our community is riding a bus line and they're experiencing hate and bias, if our community is going to a grocery store experiencing hate and bias, they can report it to a trusted place that speaks their language, that understands their culture. And we can use our community support and our strength standing together to activate ourselves just like we are today. So please contact your county council members to expand funding for the Coalition Against Hate and Bias. And if you need support, please contact CISC or the Seattle Chinatown PDA, United Indians of All Tribes, or outside from all, help us expand this network. Thank you very much.
Last up, we have Deborah Ernie. Deborah is a second-generation Mongolian American, and she's a student activist and a junior from Tacoma High School. She's a junior from Tacoma